Our next episode for TNG is Who Watches the Watchers? And it's episode number 52 of the series. And it originally aired on October 14th, 1989. It was written by Richard Manning and Hans Beimler, and it was directed by Robert Weimer. Now, with this particular episode, the Enterprise is responding to a distress call from an anthropological studies group on Mintaka 3. Now, the scientists are observing an extended family of Mintakans, which is a proto-Vulcan race in the Bronze Age of development. Now, unfortunately, the anthropologist's reactor has malfunctioned, and the Enterprise is warping over to provide repairs. Now, among other things, the reactor provides power for the scientists' holographic camouflage, and as the generator shorts out, electricity injures the scientists, and the camouflage basically evaporates. Now, when an away team beams down to assist the scientists, a Mintakan watches the scene, and when he's discovered, the Mintakan falls backward off a ledge and injures himself, so Dr. Crusher decides to beam him to sickbay. And while in sickbay, the Mintakan sees Picard, and he's kind of out of it, but he believes that the Picard is an overseer, basically the Mintakan term for a god. So Dr. Crusher tries to erase the Mintakan's short-term memory, but the procedure fails, even though she says that she was aware of Dr. Pulaski's technique. We remember seeing that back in Pen Pals when Data's friend had to have a mind wipe. But Crusher fails for some reason, and upon the return, the Mintakan begins to formulate a system of beliefs based on his experience. Now, the head anthropologist, Dr. Barron, suggests that Picard beam down and give the Mintakans a set of rules. And, basically, since this has happened, he should act like a god and, set some boundaries here. But Picard decides against this and brings the female leader of the Mintakan group aboard the Enterprise and explains that he's just flesh and blood, just like the Mintakans. And the leader finally is convinced when she sees one of the anthropologists die from the injuries, and that Picard is not able to bring her back to life. She thought he was a god and he could, do anything, but she sees the limitations here. Now, Picard and the leader beam back to the planet, and the male Mintakan, whom Dr. Crusher took to sickbay, just refuses to believe that Picard is just a man. So he wants Picard to resurrect his wife. And the man tries to prove that Picard is the overseer by shooting him with an arrow, and it hits Picard in the left shoulder. And when the Mintakans see the blood, they realize Picard is just like them indeed. So fortunately, Dr. Crusher is able to patch Picard up, and the Enterprise goes on its way and decides that they will not give the Mintakans any more information of how to advance, even though they're aware of the existence. And Picard says that they need to advance at their own rate. And that is the end of the episode. Now, we have some interesting things going on here. First of all, I think it was probably quite a treat for Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis to play different characters. Actually, they are playing Troy and Riker, but Troy and Riker disguise themselves as Mintakans to dissuade the Mintakans from thinking that Picard is a god. And I bet that was a lot of fun getting in that makeup, and we do see Deanna Troy's character later on disguising herself as a Romulan. But in this one, she is a Mintakan, which is related to Vulcans anyway, so I wonder if Marina really liked that, so they put her in that type of situation again. Just a hunch, I don't know that for sure, but we'll see. And another thing that's really important to note is that this episode is referenced and has a lot of parallels with other TNG. For example, the episode, which I have not reviewed yet, but will be, called The Drumhead. It's a 4th season episode, and events of this episode are used in an attempt to smear Captain Picard's reputation and brand him as a traitor. Another episode that has to do with this is First Contact. That's another 4th season episode in which there's first contact with an alien society. You also have, of course, the Star Trek movie, Star Trek Insurrection, which parallels this plot quite a bit, and that revolves around a Federation research outpost studying an undeveloped alien culture from behind holographic concealment. And immediately when I saw this episode, I thought of that movie, having not seen this one in quite a while. And of course, if you go back all the way to the original series, with the episode The Paradise Syndrome, the captain of the Enterprise is mistaken for a deity. So quite a few parallels here, and just references about this episode. So I thought that's kind of neat. For the most part, you don't have a lot of continuity going on in early TNG, but this is the first time that they start really doing that, and they do that a little bit more from third season on, which I like a lot. And this is an episode that I really hadn't remembered too well going into watching the third season again, but it's definitely a good one, and it definitely talks about Gene Roddenberry's philosophy. He was pretty much an atheist, and his philosophy is really shown in this episode, where Picard basically goes on a soapbox where he doesn't want people to think that he's a god and put people in fear and bondage, and he makes all the points in the world to show that he's just a man. And Roddenberry's whole concept was really that we don't have to acknowledge God for anything, but it's really man who is to give credit for all his achievements and all his hard work, and that mankind alone evolves into becoming better people. Not a philosophy I share, but that's Gene's concept, and you can really see that in this episode. So, yeah, it's definitely one of note. Thanks for watching this. Comment below if you guys like this or not, and I'll catch you guys next time.